responsible for the question number 1. Teachers as evaluators should bear in mind the principles of high quality classroom assessment. Number 1, assessment is a cooperative effort. 2, assessment is a continuous process. 3, assessment should be competitive. 4, assessment should not be made in comparison with other students in the class. My answer is letter C. 1, 2, and 4 should be done because number 1, assessment of cooperative effort, they need to cooperate with the other student or make a cooperative effort in class. 2 is a continuous process of students so they can grow. Number 4, assessment should not be made in comparison with other students in the class. Assessment should not be done by comparison because we have our own different kind of process.
Question number 4. In order to know whether a test is valid, it is most important to know an estimate of the reliability of a test. It's important to understand the difference between reliability and validity. Validity will tell you how good a test for a particular situation, and reliability will tell you how trustworthy a score on that test will be. You cannot draw a valid conclusion from a test score unless you're sure about that the test is reliable. Question number 5. Miss Gia wanted her student to learn the skills in folk dancing. Her check-up assessment tools consisted of written tests on the step in executing a folk dance. Did she utilize a good instrument in assessing her student? Yes, it has it. Scorability characteristic. Because scorability means that the test should be easy to score. Direction for scoring should be stated on the instruction. Provide an answer sheet and answer key for the one who will check the test. Identify the parts of a flower. This is where the key facet of Bloom's taxonomy. The first one is knowledge, number 2 is comprehension, number 3 is application, number 4 is analysis, number 5 is synthesis, and number 6 is evaluation.
Enumerate the characteristics of a good test. There are 4 important characteristics of a good test. These 4 are reliability, validity, objectivity, and norms. Validity is often assessed by exploring how the test scores correspond to some criteria that is same behavior, personal accomplishment, or characteristic that reflects the attribute that the test designs. And also, a good test should be highly reliable. This means that the test should give similar results even though different testers administer it. Different people's scores in different forms of the test are given, and the same person takes that test at 2 or more different times. Reliability is usually checked by comparing different sets of scores. Objectivity is a test objective when it makes to the elimination of the scorer's personal opinions, bias, judgment. The recognition of the quality objectivity in a test has been largely responsible for the development of an arised and objective type test. And also, last one is norms. In additional to reliability and validity, a good test needs these norms. Norms are sets of scores obtained by whom the test is intended. The scores obtained by these groups provide the basics for interpreting any individual score. Determine the function of predicate in a sentence. The predicate of a sentence is the part that modifies the subject in some ways, because the subject is the person, place, or thing that a sentence is about. The predicate must contain a verb explaining what the subject does and can also include a modifier. The predicate provides information about the subject, such as what subject is, what subject is doing, or what the subject is like. Summarize the salient features of a good essay. An essay must have the following features, such as the introduction, body, and conclusion. In an introduction, you give the reader an idea about your essay, what will be the topic all about. A body, in this part of the essay, you give the evidence to support the point you are trying to make at your introduction. And also the conclusion, this part of your essay should wrap up your argument.
Hi! This is my vlog. You are not as perfect as you expected. Okay guys, before we start, I want to show a video for you to be able to understand what first topic is all about. Name of the first president of the Philippines. First, General Emilio F. Aguinaldo, March 22, 1869 to February 6, 1964. Was a Filipino revolutionary politician, military leader who is officially recognized as a first and the youngest president of the Philippines. Second, Manuel L. Quezon, Manuel Luis Quezon Y. Molina, August 19, 1878 to August 1, 1944. Also referred to by his initial MLQ. Was a Filipino statesman, soldier, and politician who served as President of the Commonwealth of the Philippines from 1935 to 1944. He was the first Filipino to head a government of the entire Philippines, and he is considered to have been the second President of the Philippines after Emilio Aguinaldo. So third of the first President of the Philippines, Jose P. Laurel, Jose Fasciano Laurel Y. Garcia, CCLH, March 9, 1891 to November 6, 1959. Was a Filipino politician and judge. He was the President of the Second Philippines Republic, a Japanese puppet state when occupied during World War II from 1943 to 1945, since the administration of the President Diosdado Macapagal. 1961 to 1965, Laurel has been officially recognized by later administration as a former President of the Philippines. Sergio Osmeña Sr., September 9, 1878 to October 19, 1961, was a Filipino politician who served as the fourth President of the Philippines. From 1944 to 1946, he was Vice President Manuel L. Quezon. Upon Quezon death in 1944, Osmeña succeeded him at the age of 65, becoming the oldest person to assume Philippine presidency until Rodrigo Duterte took office in 2016 at the age of 71. A founder of Nacionalista Party, Osmeña was also the first Visayas to become president. Elpidio Quirino, Elpidio Quirino Y. Rivera, November 16, 1890 to February 29, 1956, was a Filipino lawyer, politician, who served as the 6th President of the Philippines from 1948 to 1953. A lawyer by profession, Quirino entered politics when he became a representative of Ilocos Sur from 1990 to 1925. He was elected as senator from 1925 to 1931. In 1934, he became a member of the Philippines Independence Commission that was sent to Washington, D.C., which secured the passage of Tidings McDuffie Act to American Congress. In 1935, he was also selected to the convention that draft the 1935 Constitution for the newly established Commonwealth. Ramon Magsaysay. Ramon Del Piero Magsaysay. August 31, 1907 to March 17, 1957. Was a Filipino statesman who served as the 7th President of the Philippines. From December 30, 1953 until his death in an aircraft disaster. An automobile mechanic by profession, Magsaysay was appointed military governor of Zambales after his outstanding service as a guerrilla leader during the Pacific. He then served 2 terms as Liberal Party congressman from Zambales at the large district. He was elected president under the banner of Nacionalista Party. Carlos P. Guercia. Carlos Polistico Guercia, November 4, 1896 to June 14, 1971, was a Filipino teacher, poet, orator, lawyer, public official, political economics, guerrilla, and Commonwealth military leader who has the 8th President of the Philippines.
Enumerate the part of the cell. Remember, understand, analyze, apply, create, and evaluate. First is remember. Remember, retrieve, recall, or recognize relevant knowledge from long-term memory. Remember the component of bacterial cell. Appropriate learning outcome verbs for this level include cite, define, describe, and identify. Next is understand. Understand, demonstrate comprehension through one or more forms explanation. Appropriate learning outcome verbs include abstract, arrange, articulate, associate, categorize, and clarify. Next is apply. Apply is use information or a skill in a new situation. Next, analyze. Analyze is break material into its constituent part and determine how the parts relate to one another or to an overall structure or purpose. Next is evaluate. Evaluate is make judgment based on criteria and standard. And last is create. Create is put elements together to form a new coherent or functional whole recognized elements into a new pattern in structure. A test may be reliable and not valid. It is possible for a test to be valid but not reliable. For me, no. Because a test can be reliable and not valid. A test cannot be valid and not reliable. We can say that a test is reliable when it consistently produces the same result. A person may take a reliable test several different times but would receive essentially the same result each time, and a person may take an unreliable test several times and receive different result each time. The KR21 or Coder-Richardson 21 is a similar except it is used for a test where the items are all about the same difficulty. The question is, a 50 item was administered to a group of 20 students. The mean score was 35 while standard deviation was 5.5. Compute the KR21 index of reliability. N is a sample size, var is a variance for the test, and M mean score for the test.
Ms. Plantilla developed an achievement test in math for her grade 3 pupils. Before she finalized the test, she examined carefully if the test items were constructed based on the competencies that have to be tested. What test of validity was she trying to establish?
The answer is content validity. Assesses whether a test is a representative of all aspects of the construct. To produce valid result, the content of a test, survey, or measurement, the method must cover all relevant parts of the subject it aims to measure. Content validity is the most fundamental consideration in developing and evaluating tests. Without content validity evidence, we are unable to make statements about what a test taker knows and can do. Once the test purpose is clear, it is possible to develop an understanding of what the test is intended to cover.
What types of validity does the pre-board examination pass if its result can explain how the student will likely perform in their licensure exam? And my answer is letter B, predictive.
The students of Mrs. Baleno is very noisy. To keep them busy, they were giving any test available in the classroom, and then the results were graded as a way of punish them. Which statement best explain if the practice is acceptable or not?
My answer is letter C, because the practice is not acceptable because it's violate the principle of validity. Mr. Gringo tried to correlate the scores of his pupils in the social study test with their grades in the same subject last third quarter. What test validity is he trying to establish? My answer is letter B, construct validity. Number 5. Which of the following situation may lower the validity of the test? My answer is letter A. Ms. Susea increased the number of items measuring each specific skill from 3 to 5.